Will on 5:31 VI.
It is 17 minutes past 8 o'clock for Thursday, the 28th of August. Great to be in your company this morning. William Teresi in the chair with you through until 9 a.m. this morning. All right, the debate continues over whether New Zealand should adopt four-year parliamentary terms. Meanwhile, frustration is growing in the Pacific community after the Public Service Commissioner confirmed he was looking at whether to get this, fold ministries like the Ministry for Pacific Peoples and the Ministry for Women into larger departments for the sake of so-called efficiency. Joining us to discuss and dissect all the political issues of the week is Labour's Shanan Halbert. A very good morning. Thank you very much for your time.
Morena.
Look, let's start with the Public Service Commissioner looking at potentially folding MPP. He argues it's about efficiency, perhaps. Is it really, though, or is this cost-cutting measures on steroids?
I think the role of these ministries are incredibly important. They often represent groups that are underrepresented in government areas. They're the most disadvantaged. You know, I look to leadership and I think it's so important that governments are backing these population groups, whether they be our Pacific communities, our Māori communities, rainbow communities, and particularly our women.
Yeah. I mean, look, to play devil's advocate, Pacific people continue to be overrepresented in all the worst stats, arguably what MPP has been tasked with trying to improve for all these years. I mean, doesn't that highlight the need for MPP to be re-examined?
Certainly, but what we know is that this government is taking Pacific people backwards. We're seeing the highest records of unemployment that we've seen in decades for Pacific people. We've seen Pacific women have their pay cut as a result. So I have no confidence that this government is acting in the interests of Pacific people, women, Māori, rainbow communities. And so I'm concerned that any inquiry or any review of anything under this government is just another step to take our people backwards.
Yeah, I mean, look, the role of the Commissioner is to act independently of government, but I mean, how much of this is actually government ideology at play here? I mean, it's no secret. ACT Party, for example, has a disdain for demographic-type ministries.
Well, David Seymour took a direct attack against the Ministry for Pacific People, so there's no credibility there whatsoever. What we need to ensure is that while the findings from the Commissioner may come forward, is that this government actually doesn't listen to evidence. They don't take advice from experts. Their ideology is governing the country at the moment, particularly from the minority parties, whether that be ACT or New Zealand First. We're not seeing the leadership from Christopher Luxon himself.
Look, let's just, for a second, it's a navel-gazing question perhaps, but I mean, what's at stake if, say, ministries like MPP and the Ministry for Women, are folded into other ministries?
Well, the advocacy and representation and focus on outcomes for particular groups gets lost in the mix of large organisations. There's a reason why ministries like this were set up. They were there to create better outcomes, to respond to groups that were disadvantaged by the system, to take particular strategies and distribute resources to our communities directly, because it's our communities that know what works for our people. And so if you're put into the mix of a large organisation, then those outcomes disappear, simply because the focus disappears and you just become a part of the bureaucracy. And this government promised that they wanted to take away the bureaucracy in government and take away the power from Wellington. So it's another step backwards in my view.
Look, let's turn our attention to four-year terms back in the spotlight. This jostles around every few years. I mean, you were part of the last government, though. You know the inner workings of the beehive. Is 3 years really enough to get stuff done?
No, I don't believe 3 years is enough. I'm not sure that 5 or 6 years of Labour in government was enough to get through the transformative change that Aotearoa New Zealand needs. But people quite commonly in the supermarket will say to me, 3 years isn't enough. They want 4. They think 5 is too much. And so it's important, that we push forward with a referendum. We let our whānau and people have their say, because most of all, at the moment, people are desperate for better outcomes. Things aren't getting better. The cost of living continues to be challenging. And so governments need, I believe, 4 years to get things done. And look, next year we're rolling into election year already. So that's challenging to move forward legislation. It's challenging to get a focus on the next 10 years, which we desperately need in this country.
The critics of, those that perhaps oppose a 4-year term, they argue, well, we're going to be saddled with a government that perhaps we don't like for even longer. What do you make of that view?
Well, I've certainly heard that from a 5-year term. I haven't heard that from a 4-year term as such. Generally, I think people are pretty supportive of a 4-year term. But, there's critics equally of a 3-year term as well. So, that reinforces the reason to put this out to a referendum. Let our whānau and people, communities have their say, and that will determine the outcome and recommendations of a future government taking this forward.
Let's turn our attention to the Tāmaki Makaurau by-election. What's the mood, particularly in the Labour Māori camp at the moment? Are you cautiously optimistic of Peeni Henarde's chances? I mean, I've been watching Ordini from Te Pāti Māori. She's been on fire.
Yeah, certainly. What Peeni Henare brings is a level of experience, and when we're out door knocking at the moment, particularly in South Auckland, there's a level of desperation from our Māori and, very much Māori and Pacific communities. They want to change the government. They need real help now. It is urgent. And so Peeni Henare creates that offering that Ordini Kaipara does not. Experience, proven track record of outcomes. He's built the Te Aka Whai Ora, the Māori Health Authority, to create better outcomes for our people. He was responsible for building a number of papakainga and houses in Tāmaki Makaurau and around the country. So, tangible outcomes in a desperate time, I think, is really important and quite a point of difference between the two candidates.
Not to keep beating a dead horse, it's been well canvassed in media now that Henare, perhaps on one policy particular, wasn't singing from the same song sheet as Labour when it comes to policy. Is he hurting the chances of winning Tāmaki by not singing and sticking to the chorus?
Well, what's certainly coming up on doorsteps isn't gang patches. It's not toi tu te tiriti. It's we need help now. We need a job. We need a warm, dry house to live in. And we need to be able to access the doctor for our tamariki. And so, it comes back to what right-wing media may create as an issue is not relevant when it comes to the needs of Tāmaki Makaurau and our people. Jobs, health, homes, the real action on the cost of living are the things that people are desperately asking for, and that's what we're responding to.
Indulge my political nerdiness for just a moment. How crucial is this win for Labour in the broader scheme of things? You've also got Andrew Little for Mayor. Again, seizing both those two areas, though they are different, I concede, would seizing those two areas show a Labour Party comeback?
It certainly would propel us into the general election year next year. But you will know that we lost a number of seats in the lost a number of Māori seats in the last general election. This is a rematch. There was only 40 votes in it last time. Peeni Henare's continued to do the mahi in Parliament to represent both Tāmaki and Aotearoa and Māori interests. He's not afraid of a good fight, and that's what we need to take it to the government next year.
And just on Andrew Little, it looks like this is his to win, frankly. Is that the mood within Labour as well?
Certainly Andrew brings the experience and skill set to Wellington that I think they need a level of stability in place. He's got a big team supporting him down there. The competition I'm a little bit unsure about, but he's putting his best foot forward. Here in Tāmaki Makaurau, Auckland, I think we've got a similar campaign with Mayor Wayne Brown and Kieran Leone. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. But the challenge at the moment, whether it be the Tāmaki by-election or in local government, will come down to the turnout of our people voting.
Yeah.
Tāmaki Makaurau is incredibly low at the moment, and we know that local government elections are sadly, they run a similar line. So, we can't encourage everyone enough just to get out and vote. It's the place that really counts.
Look, the final topic that I just want to talk to you about. The government announced yesterday its supermarket announcement, an announcement of an announcement, frankly. Seems like something they could have done much earlier into their term as well, instead of all this crystal ball gazing in terms of consultation. What's Labour's view on this announcement?
Well, how many years have we been waiting for this? In the general election, this government promised our people that things would get better, that they would address the cost of living, And I can't point to anywhere where they've done that. For people are finding it tough. Auckland is getting more expensive for our whānau out there. And so, an announcement of an announcement is just that. But it can't just be slogans under this government. People need real outcomes and they're looking for them. Most of all, they were promised them, and we just don't see the leadership from Christopher Luxon himself.
On the flip side of things, there, I don't. Maybe in the characterisation, supermarket prices to me didn't seem apparent during Ardern's era, certainly towards the end, but under Chippy it was certainly an issue, supermarket prices. And could legislation of this not been introduced under Chippy's watch?
So under Labour, we commissioned the report, which
Yep.
was really important to give us the insights and understanding of what was actually happening in the duopoly. So that was a piece of work in order to take legislation forward and to work with industry providers. And Penny Henare talked about the role that iwi could play in breaking the duopoly. And so work was well underway under Labour. Sadly, that was cut short in the last general election. People wanted something different. 2 years on, we're still waiting. 2.5 years on, we're still waiting. People have no better outcomes. We don't have an alternative supermarket coming into play, and people are desperate out there. So,
Yep.
this government is full of slogans, low on outcomes.
Yeah, well, couldn't agree more. Hey, thank you very much for your time. That is Labour's Shanan Halbert. Thank you very much for your time. You have a lovely rest of your day.
Kia ora.
You're listening to